Hello, welcome to today's episode of STS. We're coming fresh off the 2016 North American Parkour Championships. I'm Renee Scavington. Over here is Big Mish Todorovic, Brandon Douglas, and of course, as always, Tom Coppola. Today, we're going to be breaking down the event, talking about all the big things that happened. And first of all, I wanted to go straight to Mish because this was the first year that we did not rob you of what many believed you deserved. But you said you had some interesting comments after the event. I believe you said the challenges were easy, and we've talked about this a little bit more, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to explain yourself a little bit more.
So basically I said it wasn't hard enough. I didn't say it was easy. I really think because of the Boston qualifier NAPC, I thought it's going to be like pretty much the same concept and the same level. And in Boston, it was quite a little bit more challenging. So I was expecting something a little bit bigger, a little bit more tricky. And yeah, I just want to, in the future, I want to see more athlete training for some specific skills instead of like having something too easy when everyone can complete the challenge. So that was my point. I'm sorry if I hurt someone or whatever. Yeah, I was just on the moment. I still want to say good job to everyone. It was cool. I had a lot of fun.
Right, so we had this problem usually with skill challenges, and Tom likes to say this a lot, that we underestimate the athletes sometimes, and it's a tricky thing to build the skill challenges. But Tom, how did you feel about Boston?
Boston, I thought the Kong challenge was way too hard.
The one that no one did?
The one that no one did. Well, Mish sort of tried it, and Davis sort of tried it, but they didn't practice on it because I don't think well, it was good strategy. They only had that one day to practice, right? So I think what makes it interesting, Mish, is actually this year we actually gave basically 3 days of practice.
Like
right?
we saw at the qualifier days,
Yeah.
it was hard.
Yeah.
Like we saw like Kai Willis kind of struggling with the last year challenge.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, 100% sure that on the day he would be like able to do that easy.
Right.
I mean,
on his best day.
yes.
Sure.
On a good day, yeah. I think with the extra practice that you guys got, I think it made it more likely that people were able to figure out how to do that Lache challenge, the Lache dynos, and the Kong. We only saw Jimmy make it on that first day. Nobody else did it, and so I don't know if that one was too easy or not hard enough. I know you found it a little bit less challenging, but you didn't quite flash it. So
the more time I had on it, it was just getting casual.
yeah, it
So I
just
think it's
became a matter of becoming more consistent, right?
In the
Yeah.
future, you need a true flash where they get no practice and see what happens. But I think one of the things that's really difficult about designing skill challenges is the best athletes in the world are all competing, and so you don't have anyone to test them because most people can't do them, and that's why it's like hard to dial in. Is this too hard or is this too easy? Because you literally can't ask the people that are going to be in the comp, and those are pretty much the only people that are going to be able to do it.
It's like what Bill Murray said about the Olympics, is you need one average person in there just for scale, like trying to do everything. Standing up there like, no, it's too scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the skill challenges this year were better than previous years at NAPC. The
100%,
Lache 8 was a throwaway that obviously nobody wanted to do the challenges that we wanted to see.
Well, a lot of people were not necessarily complaining, but pointing out the fact that certain challenges favored certain directions of movement. And I don't know if you guys did that intentionally or if it was kind of a byproduct of your guys' dominant side or whatever, but some people are like, maybe I would have done this, but I turn to the right. Or I
No,
turn to the
actually,
left.
both of the Kong challenges didn't favor our dominant sides.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you saw the level 9 Kong. It was one of my problem. I had to.
Yeah, you had to switch that.
Yeah, go step.
I would have had to do the same thing, but I'm wondering if that was intentional, or and you just want to promote like, hey, you should be able to do it on both sides, or you should be able to adapt, or if in the future you want to be like, all right, maybe we should make it kind of like a symmetrical problem so that if someone has a dominant side, they don't have to make an adjustment that another athlete won't have to make.
It wasn't intentional in the sense that we were trying to get people like, oh, make sure you're good on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It's more the fact that we knew we wanted to do the Kong pre on the rails like that, and just how can we set that up? We did it with a giant stride in the beginning of it, right? So, and we knew that people would be able to do that switch step into it, or they would be able to, if it was set up appropriately for their dominant sides, then they would be able to do it how they needed to accomplish the challenge. The one with the dynos, my preferred side is turning left.
Of course.
So
If you're a monster if you turn right, all right? No one should turn right.
turning right.
You go left or right?
No, I had to switch my side.
I
Exactly.
turned right, but I suck.
Well,
He
if you
turns
start
right.
turning left, you'll get a lot better, trust me. That's all the pros do it.
All the pros turn left. But I also know I'm capable enough to turn right to be able to get at least the cat leap, and then I would want to do what Daryl did, which was he
Yeah.
switch sides on
That was
the,
actually one of the
on the
coolest
return.
things
I thought that
during-
was really technical and really cool that he was able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to be able to get that other foot on top on that and set for the second dyno.
Yeah, this year we had less problems with judging for skill, but it's hard to find good skill judges because we almost need people that aren't competing or aren't doing other parts of the event. Like we can sit here and talk about, well, for one, you and I designed the challenges. You're really knowledgeable, and you got to play on them a bit. So we can sit back here and talk about all the different intricacies and how they
Yeah.
should have been scored. But we all had different roles that didn't involve judging. So if you're interested in judging at a future North American Parkour Championships, please get at me. And we'll try to make that happen. But you got to know your stuff.
Maybe we just need to wait until parkour gets old and people start retiring. And they're knowledgeable, but they still want to be involved. And then we can start getting some really, really solid judging and referees. But they have the same problem in other sports. Like,
Yeah.
I have a question. What do you guys
Yeah.
think about the flashy thing? I was talking with someone and he said that it might not be the best idea because you might get lucky sometime. But he was saying that it would be cool to see if you can stay consistent and have an extra point for having every single of your try.
yeah.
So if you can get all of three, you get like a half extra point.
It's a cool idea, and the flashpoint was something we came up with as a byproduct of, oh crap, we gave people a lot of practice,
Yeah.
and the competition is now getting closer and closer, because a lot of people, or a lot of you guys completed the 9 challenges, both of them, and if there wasn't that extra bonus you could have got, it would have been, I don't know what would have happened.
I was talking with Daryl about it too, and I kind of came up with something similar, which was like maybe you build a streak. Like you get the flash point on your initial try if you do it, extra half point, whatever it's going to be. If you do it in your second try, you keep the flash point, and then you potentially improve the score and the execution because you're like cleaning it up. And then I like the idea of also like if you do it 3 times in a row, then maybe you get an extra bonus for consistency. Who knows?
Because I just feel like sometimes we are lucky on rails, and especially rails. Like you can stick a rail and you don't even know why.
What went right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it was just perfect. You know?
Yeah.
It's gambling a little bit, which I disagree sometimes.
Well,
that was a cool idea.
I definitely agree with you that it's
Because it's not like in let's say climbing, it's really physical. So it's like
it's also
different,
very
you know?
technical too. So
Yeah, but like it's so technical and physical that you just you can't really be lucky. You can't like, oh, I got the grip, cool.
Well, yeah, most
Ooh.
climbing movements are like static. Like
Yeah.
you go to them.
Yeah,
It's not
in
like-
bouldering though, there's like you'll go for a big reach, and it's like sometimes you'll get it right in the right spot where you can hold,
that's
and
also
sometimes you just miss, and it's just off by a millimeter, right? And then that's how you fall. So I agree with you in the sense that the flash, especially because it's not necessarily a true flash because you've done it in practice, that it doesn't necessarily transfer as well. And we're definitely going to need to look at this format and see how we can build on it. It was a last minute addition to begin with. I'm glad we did it though, because it changed the game a little bit, and it made it so that there was more of a spread in scores.
And at least it was easy to understand for everyone.
Yeah.
It was just a simple rule, and yeah, that's it.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone know who Rodrigo is?
No idea. I do now. Sort of, but
Rodrigo Pampin. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Pampin.
I just wanted to
Pampin.
give a quick shout out to Rodrigo Pampin because he plays second in skills, and I don't even think
Yeah, the
anyone
kids show up.
realized at the end of the day because he's so quiet.
I mean,
Not just in his movement, just quiet in his persona. He just kind of hung back and didn't really mingle or anything with anyone. But he's a great kid, and he trains by himself in a island off of Vancouver in Victoria. It's just really cool to see competitions bring out these unknowns.
That's been a theme this whole year. Like Weston, obviously, I don't want to jump into style too early, but just kids and young men, I guess, coming out of the woodwork and just exploding onto the scene, and kind of like making these veterans think, oh, I guess my position here at the top is not as stable as I thought.
Well, if we move on to speed, we can start with the women even. We have Kasia, is it?
Kasia?
I don't
Kasia.
even want to try her last
I
name.
think it's Kasia.
I don't even want to. I heard Kasia Ketchup. I heard.
Kasia Ketchup.
We should have done our homework. I should have figured this out before we started recording. But she plays first in speed.
Yeah.
And she's another unknown. She wasn't even in speed at the Apex International. She
I think
competed
she
in
only
style,
did style
right?
there. Yeah, I think you're right.
Which I think is more her specialty because I did do a little bit of homework and found out, okay, she used to be a gymnast, and she's only been training parkour since the start of this year.
Yeah, like February, I think is what she told me when I asked her about it.
Yeah.
Pretty insane.
That is pretty insane.
Yeah, so I guess you could call it an upset.
Yeah, to say the least.
Because
that was really interesting.
I would say Alyssa was definitely the favorite. Alyssa Serpa was definitely the favorite going into the speed competition, and she took a more challenging route.
Yeah, she took like the champion's heart route. Like she took the, all right, there's respect points being thrown at her for not going into the foam.
Yeah.
But in the end, it sapped her energy enough that she ended up kind of throwing the competition. Like had she just chosen, all right, I'm just gonna wing myself into the pit and just scramble out, I think she would have won. But you know, it's a very personal decision. I don't even know if she was doing that. Like in her head, she probably thought I can do both. But I wonder if she regrets that decision, or if she would make any adjustments, or if she would make an adjustment in her training just to make sure that even if I'm gonna do the whatever, the more like actual parkour route, I'm still always gonna have enough in the gas tank to finish strong.
I think she could have done the route over top of the foam pit faster. Like she's capable of doing it faster. I still think it would have been a safer strategy to go into the pit.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, when her competition is all going into the pit as well, then it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
have
weird.
Yeah, and it's interesting because with the men, on the first practice day, everyone was going into the pit except for Jimmy. Jimmy was the only one not going into the pit because he found a faster way.
Yeah.
Actually, Kai was practicing like a quick traversal.
That was
Actually, I was bummed to not see that
Right.
in competition because I wanted to see how that compared to the other runs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he may
He's
have
the
been
only
able to
one who made
enter
it
that
look clean.
faster than jumping out for the tack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. But yeah, so Jimmy was the only one going over the top, and then Jimmy got hurt. But it was still in some of the guys' head it's possible to go over top.
I don't know why everyone wasn't thinking that, to be honest. Like, I mean, I'm obviously one of the people that have competed in this event before, so that's how I think already. But I was encouraging Pedro, Daryl. Like, I was like, that is the fastest route, like easily.
But it's just because we saw some guys falling from that stride, and we just thought it was so risky for no like. Would you risk that and fall in the pit from that high and just like try to recover instead of just dropping in the pit?
I felt like everyone should have realized though that like they're capable of, even if they do fall in the pit, getting to basically where they would have gotten had they just lashed shade in. But they can accelerate, you know, off the bar and still like they'd have, I don't know, they might get into the pit at the same time
Swings
or before. Yeah, swings they take a lot of time. You have to load that potential energy and like throw yourself. So.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think the stride is,
And then-
it does carry risk, right?
Yeah.
So,
But not how much risk really? You didn't even practice it once and you did it first try.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes and just before the course.
right.
And
So-
it was
That's what Pedro said too. He said he tried it once and fell,
he failed. Yeah.
and then got
They
it.
got it. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I was really worried the first day. I was like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna see a bunch of people crash into the pit and then awkwardly climb out.
We were starting to
This
think of
is-
strategies like, let's just take all the foam out.
Yeah,
Or
like,
move all the foam to one side.
Well, I was just, I was like, we need basketball court style, like, you know, boards you can like lay over the pit in case of events like these.
yeah.
Or you should just put bushes.
Bushes, yeah, we had bushes and kiddie pools maybe. There you go.
Barbed wire. Just layer of barbed wire over top.
Get a nice bed of coals going.
Yeah. So I thought it was cool that once people saw it was possible and once they had a little bit more practice, they started really going for it and they ended up. I mean, everybody. I was so proud of everybody for going over top.
But it was also the pressure of seeing like Joe and Davis just doing well.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Oh,
if they
crap.
do that, and if I drop in the pit, I'm losing.
Exactly.
So I have to do it.
Yeah.
That's like that was a really good pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting to me when I saw Jimmy going for it, and I remember thinking in my head, and I think I said it out loud, you got to go over top if you want to beat Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I think that was still probably the case. And you know what? He wasn't even doing it as fast as some of the guys did it in the competition on Sunday. So it's a shame that he got hurt because I would have liked to see him adapt and get actually pushed by the competition because everybody else was doing it a little bit faster now. So, you know, maybe we'll see him next year and hopefully he'll be able to perform.
I mean, even in the skills.
In the
He
skills.
was, yeah.
I
we don't-
truly think he set the standard for the weekend. On the first day, he was like, okay, well, this Kong Pri is possible. This stride Kong Pri is possible.
He was also the first one doing that dive through the setup,
Yeah, the Kong.
yeah,
Or
on the first
rail.
course. I think it was the first one just going through, and it was just so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the qualifier footage up yet, which also includes, I believe, some practice footage. Today we were working on getting this whole thing set up, and I know we have that qualifier footage somewhere that's going to be up on probably on our YouTube page. So once that's up, we'll be able to get a chance for everyone to see how well Jimmy Pereira did in the qualifiers.
That's awesome.
And if you check my Snapchat story from a few days ago, which is impossible, you can see the 10 stitches that he got on his knee.
Yeah, it's rough.
Maybe I'll find that video and post it somewhere as well.
It's funny because we were talking about what's the underdogs, right? So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about underdogs. I think Jimmy was an underdog kind of coming in initially. You know, he won at Beast Coast. He actually beat Mish. I don't know by how much, but
Well, I think 2 seconds, something like
yeah,
that.
it was a weirder course. So in my head I was kind of attributing it to the course, but you know seeing him perform on Friday put any doubt, just solidified that no, this guy's actually super fast. So I think Jimmy was an underdog. I think you were an underdog in the first year.
First year I came out for
I think
sure.
definitely underdog, and you were just kind of this like fast dude that, like, you know, from Apex, like nobody really knew who you were, and you know, people saw like Dylan Baker and Mish, and they're like, okay, these guys are gonna win, and then you ended up like.
Yeah, it's weird how the fresh, like the rookies seem to always like make a huge statement when they first come in. I don't know if it's because they have the drive and the competition like is a better setting for someone who's never competed or hasn't competed as much.
Less pressure.
Less pressure as
Less
well. Yeah,
pressure
I've
to
I
perform.
talked with Joe Hendo about that because obviously he's another
we
one
still
that
haven't
kinda came
talked
out
about
of
the
nowhere.
fresh 20-year-old that
Yeah.
won the whole thing.
Yeah, it's there's no expectations for any of these guys to do well, and so it becomes more like parkour training where it's you versus you. But when you start to build a name for yourself, then all of a sudden, even though it shouldn't necessarily be this way, you start to feel the pressure of, all right, now everyone's kind of looking at me, expecting me to do well, and I know that I can do well, and so there's even more added pressure on myself because I've beaten some of these guys before, and can I do it again? Or I don't know. There's a lot of more head games to go in.
It's definitely extra pressure to like when you know that everybody knows, oh, he can win. Oh, like, you know, like Pedro, you're like, you got like, I don't know, first to every race he did before or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
We don't really have an idea yet of how difficult sustained dominance is yet in parkour. Because for speed, it seems to be extremely difficult because for speed, you essentially have to be perfect every time you compete
Yeah.
in order to sustain that dominance, unless other competitors aren't perfect, don't perform perfectly.
Right. Yeah, I think speed always comes down to who makes the fewest mistakes.
That was, we couldn't say it enough on the live stream. Me and Frosty were talking about it often, just that the consistency is what gets you the win almost every time.
Yeah.
And you saw actually Joe back off. He like, and I talked to him about it, and he was saying, because he was already in a good position, he was able to take slightly less aggressive approach to that second course, knowing that he has that wiggle room, that cushion basically behind him. And partly because, you know, Mish fell on the first course and gave him like extra wiggle room.
Yeah, for competitions, you basically have to be, on your worst day, you have to be as good as everyone else is on their best day or better.
Yeah.
That's the only way you guarantee.
Yeah.
That's the only way you guarantee a win, at least in, well, I guess in all the events. I guess in skill, speed, and style. Speed just always seems like there's less room for error.
Yeah.
Because you're going as fast as you can, and everything always comes down to like these fractions of a second. So
Yeah, and Mish, it always blows my mind how you can mess up and still end up pulling through with a second place victory.
I'm still surprised.
It's amazing to me because it means that on the rest of the course you're covering ground so much quicker than everyone else.
Like I was still surprised. Like I was so pissed after the second course. I thought I'd just mess up totally, and I was still first position. And that was unbelievable for me.
Yeah. And if you hadn't messed up on that last ascent, you would have been way ahead of Joe, like significantly ahead of Joe Henderson, right? So it, you know, he kind of started to catch you at the end just only because you missed your grip. So yeah, that's
surprising. Sometimes I realize that maybe for the future I might play a little bit, you know, like a little bit slower, but more secure. Instead of just trying to go fast and like overthink and just slip or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about how you were like, well, what I wanted to do would have been the fastest way up, but I was trying to tell you that just doing the jump up to the grab would have been a safer option, and it's still pretty fast. And so if you had taken that less risky course strategy, you know, you would have potentially put yourself in the actual running for first.
Yeah, I kind of realized that in Apex this year. Same thing, just mistake because I was trying to go just too fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just
And that's super common, I think, because the way we train, we want to push ourselves to do the best run possible. We want to show people this is really how fast I can go. It is crazy fast, but it's really difficult to maintain that level of focus and get it when all the lights are on, you know?
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that surprised you guys about other than, I think Joseph Henderson surprised everybody.
Yes.
Because he did well at the Apex International.
Yeah.
I don't. Did he end up getting DQ'd in the end? Was that?
No. He just wasn't on the same. Well, maybe he did. I don't think he did though. I think I think the competition and the course lent itself maybe to a different skill set in a way, or it seemed like he was a little more hesitant on some of like the really gnarly stuff, like the pole stride. Only the really expert competition athletes, Mish, Dylan, and Pedro, I think, did the pole stride.
Right.
And there was a number of techniques like that were just super technical that Joe opted out of for his first competition, maybe because he just doesn't want to put it together in a first competition. But
I also think he was super tired because he
competed the night before.
He went through two
qualifiers.
Two
qualifiers. That's true.
I think it's super exhausting.
Yeah, he did a lot of training for this one right before the comp though as well. Even on the day where we had the athlete jam, he was up.
He was practicing,
like getting across the foam pit.
Oh yeah.
Again and again and again and again. So, he really took advantage of every opportunity that, in fairness, that we gave him to practice, and it really showed with his final run. Like it was pretty flawless.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to watch it again, but I can't think of any slip up in that run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so style.
Style.
Let's start with the women again. So we have the favorite this time, Sydney Olsen. Kind of basically retaining her title because she also showed some style last year in the female division. But coming closer was Christine Dietrich, who's didn't compete last year and is also kind of more of a unknown. Was there anything that surprised you about that division, or the scoring, or how it all went down?
To be honest, the only thing that really surprised me was the lack of depth in the division, and that there were so few women competing.
Well, we had Lucy Romberg,
Yeah, and that was just partly
got
because
a whole nother career that can't
Pays the bills.
Yeah, same with Dylan Baker.
Yeah.
Couldn't make it due to career obligations.
we weren't seeing all the familiar faces we're used to in style. That's all. And Renee again, also another defending.
I'd like to see
podium.
in the future women competing against women and men, like two different divisions. I'd like to see that. I don't know. It was kind of weird running all the speed course with like the girls.
Do you mean like a different course? Or?
Not different, maybe the same, but just having like putting all separate and just I don't know. It's kind of confusing to like, because you have to judge the woman as if there's no gender, and it's kind of just weird sometimes. It's my personal opinion, but you might disagree. But I'd like to see that in the future.
Do you mean just at different times, like rather than
maybe
kind of alternate?
Maybe like different times. So you start with girls and you finish with men, or the opposite. I don't know, but just to like women, men, like in other sport. Like women's, they don't play with against men in soccer. Like it's just
Right.
separate.
Well, it's also a team sport.
Yeah,
And
like
it's
I'm
also
just,
a
but I'm
NFL
just saying.
exact opponent sport. Well, I guess I'm just trying to think of.
Well, in
I always
UFC, for
find-
example, we always loved it. I know you guys love the UFC analogy. There is like fight cards where there's a female fight, male fight, back and forth, and like anyone could go
They
on.
cross over, but I'm thinking of skiing is always the closest sport to like the sportification of parkour, or what we're trying to do with parkour. Skiing always has the most similarities out of any other sport you can think of, and I assume they would probably do it in the way that I don't actually know, but I'm assuming they actually do it the way Misha's saying, where they would have men run a course on one day or at one time, and then a women's division run a course at another time. But we're trying to just jam everything into one night.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's I think like.
And that goes not even just across gender, but I think just across events. Like we definitely want to see more and more of that. That's been always a theme for the last 2 years of just like athletes kind of having to pick their spots and pick where they're going to put their energy. And I mean, unless you're Joey Adrian,
Except Joey.
you don't want to compete in all 3 events, even though you might do pretty well in all 3, or one event might affect the performance of the next 2, or it's just kind of tough because you run out of energy when you're doing all these qualifying and practice courses or building your runs, and then you're tempted to train anyhow because you're at this new gym.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys think you'll do? Or, you know, it's obviously it's not cost feasible for most gyms yet, and that's the reason why it has to go all down in one night, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, would you like to see that next year or year after, trying to get like at least on a different night? So like Styles on the next day, or.
Well, the one thing we've already talked about, biggest takeaway, at least for me, for the event was that we just had too many athletes, and kind of knew that going in, and that's why for certain events, for speed and for style, we broke down the competition via rounds. So you ran course 1, but it didn't mean you ran course 2. You did a freestyle line, didn't mean you did big move. If we had less athletes to begin with, if we didn't accept so many, it would have been a much shorter event. But we had 16 in style, 20 something in speed, and I think another 12 or 13 in skill. So maybe that's just too many.
It's just a lot
runs to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say that live stream, I think it was pretty much perfect. Like it was so legit. It was smooth and top quality.
Well, Tom was behind the controls.
I think it was like the best year so far.
Under the tutelage of Andrew, who's walking away from you.
No, it was impressive. Like I used to watch all the others previous year, and this year super legit.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool feedback to hear. I definitely don't think it was perfect. I made a lot of mistakes on my end, but I'm glad that it looks good enough for most people, because I've been hearing a lot of good feedback from people about how the live stream looked and everything. So yeah, I mean, we're trying to step it up every year. We're trying to make it a little bit better, more of a professional broadcast, make it look like it's a sport. Fake it till you make it, I guess, right? So, yeah, we're working on it, and we definitely want to try to even make it better next year. We'll try to find ways to do it. And part of that means making the actual event a little bit more streamlined, a little bit tighter, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll be in the next week. I'll be working with Andrew and his guys. They came in to do the live stream that they worked on it last year, but we had a new crew this year. We had Black Magic sponsoring a lot of the equipment that went into it, so that cut down the cost for us too for the live stream. And we'll be working on this week to actually cut down the event. Everything was recorded in 4K, which I thought was pretty sweet, and that'll be up on YouTube hopefully by next week. But I keep saying things are going to come out the next day and the next week, and they don't happen. So luckily for that, it's not all up to me. A lot of times, a lot of the videos for Origins, I'm the one cutting it up in between my other responsibilities that should come first. So this one's gonna be nice that it's not all up to me to cut it down. From there, we're gonna try to. I think the plan is to do some distribution, so it might actually end up on TV, not on a big station or anything, but that's the goal anyway.
Running after Red Bull out of motion.
So yeah, we were talking about style. Before we started recording, I was asking you guys what was the biggest moment to you in the event. Each one of you said it's basically a moment from the freestyle. So I just wanted to kind of relay that again. Brandon, I'll start with you. What was your the biggest moment for you in freestyle?
I thought that Nate Weston's combo, the winning combo, was the biggest moment, just because.
the combo or the big move?
Excuse me, the big move, which was a combination of moves.
Yes. True. Yes.
The side flip precision into double flyaway. I mean, it was just insane. It was the highest scored move, I'm sure, of the night. Maybe not, but it had to have been, right?
It was, yeah.
And it was well deserving of it. Just, I'd heard him practicing this move. I'd heard whispers of him practicing it, and even though I'd heard that, I couldn't predict it. Like when he was standing up there, I'm like, what is he gonna do?
I had no idea what he was
like
gonna do.
for him to surprise us all that way, and and just throw down a combination of movements that we've never seen, but that has been widely available for anyone to attempt for years and years and years. It just really showed me just the innovation that I love to see in the sport, which is both actually, even though I loved that move and the energy around that move is maybe the biggest one, I actually liked his flyaway into like swing through cork even more because I thought
From
that
his
one was
line, yeah. That was really cool, and I'm, Nathan Weston just continues to just blow my mind every single time.
And in practice, he threw a double cork.
Yeah.
Out of the flyaway.
Yeah, that
wow.
flyaway step, he did double cork. That was
Wow.
But that's how he bruised his heel, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But then
Yeah, 'cause-
competing on a bruised heel,
So
so ridiculous.
So leading up to Big Move, the rumors were that he was gonna do full in off the bar.
Oh.
Yeah, full in off the bar. But apparently because he hurt his heel from that double cork, he decided to do the side pre to double flyway instead.
I thought he was going to do side pre to full in.
That
might as
would
well,
have been,
right? I
that
mean,
would
at
have been
that point-
incredible. Yeah, I mean he over rotated that double fly. I guess it's possible.
I mean, he's guaranteed to do it because I know maybe not every attempt, but
yeah.
if you side flip, if you can land on it upright enough, if you can jump into it,
True,
then
yeah,
there's-
it's true.
It's just a matter of how much time he needs to
Well,
regain his balance.
if that's the case, then that would have been the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you know what's crazy too is like he's busting out new moves. Like he's just got a really deep bag of new moves. I don't know what's going on, but like at Apex International, he did two things that we've never seen before in competition as well. The forward swing, like
The kip side.
flip. What is it called?
Kip side
Kip
or
side out,
swing kip
precision.
side. He did
I
it.
hadn't
He
seen
did
that.
it again
He did
here.
it again here.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen that before back in the day, and his flyaway to 90-degree like precision during the
Yeah.
Apex International was another
Also-
move, which he didn't decide to bust out. He decided to go with something else.
Yeah.
And that move might have also gotten him some
Also,
points.
he's super consistent with every single landing.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
clean, nice form.
Was that his first attempt on the Big Move?
Yep.
You guys know?
Yeah, he
did
only took one.
He did
That
one
was
combo
it.
line and one.
I think he learned from last year. Last year, so he did this, I don't know what it's called, but he started with a trick that was sort of like tumbling and then finished off of the wall.
It's like a down monkey at the end.
Yeah,
But
and I know it was really hard, but I don't think a lot of people appreciated it because they didn't really know what it was. And it was a play it safe move. And then when he went for his other big trick, it was the big side pre over IMAX to side out.
Yeah.
And he overshot it the first time and undershot it the second time. And I truly believe that if he had one more attempt,
Yeah,
if he had not banked that first move, if he had just held that one more attempt for that, he would have been able to do it. And I think he learned from that this year, but he nailed it on his first try.
Well,
so.
it's just like with speed, what we're saying, consistency is the key to win.
Yeah.
And you see that across other sports. Like I was just showing you guys a little Instagram of Nyjah Houston. The reason why Nyjah wins all his contests and stuff is because he lands tricks first try, and that's basically, I think, what sports like this get to, is the point where you have to basically land everything you attempt in order to win. And that's why you see such great technique and form from Nate Weston, because he knows that it doesn't matter if you can't land it every time.
You know, it's funny to me because I find it weird that we're talking about Big Move and like we haven't mentioned Alfred yet. And he's the guy. Like he's the guy to beat in that event. And Nate did it.
That's
I mean,
nice.
it was kind of close.
It was super
Like
close,
double
yeah.
flyway, precision on a beam.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, like I think that was
I think it was the second craziest moment of the event.
yeah.
Yeah. I also think too, if it actually was a beam, because it was a vault box, which is still
Yeah, but I mean,
really
yeah.
narrow. But if it was
But
actually
if there's nothing underneath it, you
was a
just-
beam and it was something that he didn't drag over there himself and set up.
Yeah.
That was the other kind of odd thing about it that I commented on during the event, was that he was setting up things for what he wanted to do for his big move. He wasn't using some of the space, and I mean maybe there's not enough in the space for him, and that's just something he wanted to do. And not taking anything away from it, it's absolutely crazy that he did it. I'm sure there's not a whole lot he can do in terms of position to make it that much easier of a move to do. But still, there just something felt a little bit off about it, because I only felt that way when he was doing it with the wider lower box.
Yeah.
As soon as I switched to the medium box, I was like, oh, this is real. when he was setting up the smaller, wider box into place, it was just kind
Well, I
of
think
like,
you definitely have a point there. I mean, if every athlete decided to move obstacles around, you might see even more ridiculous moves going down. So
yeah. But
It's
that almost goes against the code,
yeah.
so to speak, I guess. Like
Yeah.
I don't like seeing kids do that in the gym, where they set up like they'll tell me I'm gonna do this line, and then I'll watch them set up like vault boxes, like run after one to do whatever moves they want us to do, because it's just they just want to put together whatever their favorite moves are, versus coming into the gym and just everything is the way it is, and then making something up creative with that space.
I was also kind of waiting for a punch front out of that.
He comes out like this.
yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
hands are
I
up.
thought
I asked him about it. I was like, were you getting ready to front? And he's like, no, that's just how I land, just because
I
I
was
use it.
expecting-
It's a force of habit.
He still could have
For,
though.
exactly, but it's just that's his natural, because he's Alfred Scott. That's his natural landing position.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm pretty much gonna front out of whatever I want to eventually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was very surprised by him not fronting. I thought that would have potentially added to his score enough to beat Nate, because he would it's just that much more difficulty.
Absolutely.
And I feel like he can probably front out of that like just almost as easily as just dropping off, you know? I mean, obviously it's a little bit harder,
I
but
think who knows? Who knows? He definitely said he was feeling sore that day as well. So maybe he's just got needs a little more leg power to pull that out.
yeah,
But
fair enough, yeah. I mean, he is doing it out of a double flyway, so I mean, like,
what do you think if he had turned the box parallel to the bar?
Oh.
Now that.
I think he
Now
might
we
have
talk.
that would be a game changer.
Yeah.
Absolute game changer. He would have won for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna. I mean, do you want to continue talking about?
I actually got to move on. We got to shut this
Okay.
down pretty quick because I got to jump into a class. But
Okay.
I want you to finish final thought on this.
Oh, I was gonna say Daryl's big move was
Yeah.
was a really you know, it wasn't Nate's side pre double flyaway, it wasn't double flyaway pre, but it was a massive lache that took all 3 attempts for him to succeed on.
He
And-
built like an
Yeah.
intensity in the gym, and when
Yeah.
he got it, it was just it was crazy.
It was an electrifying moment. It was an emotional moment for me. I have shivers right now just thinking about it.
Particularly for us because he had been here months prior and attempted it on several days. Attempted that very same lash pre on several days, and he came up to me several times during the comp saying he was going to do it, like just straight up. And he came very close on his first 2 attempts. He at least put his feet up, and that's been a problem with with a lot of people, I guess. But one thing when he was training here last is just committing to things and committing to them early and getting them, because essentially in competition it's like doing it first try. You don't get that many warm-ups. You don't get to do those kind of things. You just have to go for it right here, right now. I'm doing this one. That's it. So he was really committing to it each time, which was a great progression to see in him that a lot of people here didn't really get to fully be aware of.
We were a little bit more part of that story because we saw the progression of those attempts, like it was a month ago or 2 months
It
ago.
was really cool though, the fact that the one he landed in competition was the first one he'd ever landed.
Yeah.
You know, if he knew he could do it already, it's something like we're like basically witnessing him like actually training away during competition, and that's like why I think
It's
it
a
was
big
so electrifying.
accomplishment.
And it was a parkour movement and a style competition, which I got a special soft spot for sure.
Respect to that. For sure.
And it's a big accomplishment for Daryl because he, in previous years, you can look at his performance, and usually he can't switch it on when it matters. When it matters
And
most,
this time he
kinda,
rose to the occasion.
He'll kind of things that won't really work out for him. But this time
It was also kind of cool seeing someone doing a really parkour move in a style competition.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
exciting. It was just like, but it's like it's still like pretty much same level. It's something crazy, and it's huge.
Yeah, big move.
Yeah, it's a big move, exactly.
Yeah, it's a big move. And
So
again,
Oh, go ahead.
also like the fact that he didn't do as well as he wanted to in style and in skill and speed. Again, I was really happy to see because you could tell it was obvious when he would come over to the sponsor page that he was dissatisfied with some of the judging and stuff like that. When, I know he wanted to podium in both those events, and then he missed out. And then for him to be able to get on board, at least with a really huge victory.
He's been less interested in doing style because he feels like his style in that type of competition isn't valued by judging. And he told me after this event, he said, I'm going to do it again next year. Because he was considering just not doing it anymore.
That's great. He's just putting something new, and it's just amazing to see that. It's a new style, and then maybe it's just a new door for like new kind of talents or whatever.
I don't know if it's that new. I mean,
It's not.
His way of putting together lines is very true to what a line should be. But he isn't one of those guys who can always put the most difficult in a creative sense too, like Nate. Nate just has this checklist of moves that only he can do, and Daryl doesn't really have that.
Yeah.
Like, nothing taken away from Daryl, but it almost seems like Nate could have done Daryl's line. I can't think of anything Daryl's line that Nate couldn't have done.
We also saw that with like Jesse Peverill. He's not throwing any crazy flip, but he's just connecting with some powerful move and just like flow.
Yeah, and if the guys with the more original risky moves mess up, then you have your winner. You have your guy that's just really consistent, really solid, really clean, takes the win, and that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I would like to see Daryl start to add some more difficulty to his line. I think that's my biggest criticism of him. I think he puts so much emphasis on reducing steps that he ends up just forgetting to do something a little bit hard, right? And because he's not putting that thing hard
When you get
into
lost
the line.
in the sauce.
Yeah,
What they call it. That's what I call it anyhow. Is you play the game too much, and then all of a sudden you forget that the game is just inside life, and that you can still play just the real thing.
Yeah, I mean, and he's capable of doing big moves. He's capable of putting the lines together. Now, let's see where he goes with this, refining his own style and making it all that it can be. Because I know he's capable of doing better in these competitions.
I also want to say shout out to Joey Adrian. He did the all 3 event and he podiumed in 2, which is amazing.
Yeah.
He's a special
Like
athlete.
the level of energy in this dude, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly to come back in the 3rd event
Yeah,
and still podium.
he did.
You
Some
would
crazy moves.
almost predict that the performance. I mean, speed is not his specialty, but you predict that the performance would go down. But it's like he podiumed the first, and then still had enough to make it on the podium in the last one.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What an event.
Okay, we do have to wrap this up, guys. There's been classes going on behind us, and we're way behind schedule. I got to jump into this one. Just real quick though, Mish and Brandon, I just want to know where do you guys think we go from here? What do we do next year to make the event better?
Better rule, just strict, no changement last minute. So stay clear with the rule, stay clear with the format. Yeah, that's it. Just keep challenging yourself, keep trying to do something better and better. I think we're there.
Oh yeah, I second that, definitely. Just like our parkour training, we just want to keep taking things further, and I think we should just try to always make the rules as close to how we actually train. Make the competition more like training, and eliminate problems like foam pits where we're like, oh, I guess like the fastest way is to swing into the foam pit.
You don't want to see
because then you get that struggle where Alyssa's like, this is what's cool versus this is what's going to get me the victory, and you just don't want to have that. You want to have everyone just, oh yeah, this feels like training even though I'm competing.
Cool. appreciate your feedback, guys.
I'd like to see in a huge stadium or like outside.
Working towards it. I mean, look at this beautiful setup we have right now. Like, we're getting close.
Yeah, it
you
was
know,
legit.
Okay, cool. That band isn't hanging there anymore. Okay. Just moving some stuff around the weight room. That's all. All right, guys. That is it for the show today. We should be back on schedule next week. We got no other big things to eat up our time anymore. Maybe we got some other different faces in here. We got Josh Brower running behind us. Big me, Josh Brower.
Brandon, are you serious?
So maybe the next week or so we'll get some other guests on the show. Keep this thing rolling. Until then, see you next time. We out. Cut your feed.